Hi everyone, it's H. In this video, I'm going to be going through how to source products for Amazon FBA Wholesale that can get you consistent profits every single month. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that I see Amazon sellers make who do wholesale is the way that they source. Due to the way they source, they think Amazon Wholesale is saturated and they're just never able to achieve those long-term profits. Now, over the last couple of years, I've spoken to so many Amazon Wholesale sellers, and when I ask them what their biggest issues are, as Amazon sellers, they always say price tanking. That should not be the case. The reason why most sellers change from the arbitrage model to wholesale is due to price tanking. So clearly they are doing something wrong. And 9 times out of 10, what they're doing wrong is the way in which they source. For example, the way that most people source and where most people go wrong is they just go onto Google and locate easily accessible suppliers from Google. Any Tom, Dick and Harry can access these suppliers, meaning that there will be no consistent profits there for your business and there will be no longevity whatsoever. That is not what we want as wholesale sellers. In fact, that's the very opposite of what we want. When it comes to wholesale, every single listing that we sell on, we need to be purchasing and selling these listings with the whole idea that these products will provide us with longevity. Straight off the bat, if you are sourcing from these easily accessible suppliers found on Google, that will never, or these products will never ever have longevity, because anyone who started Amazon yesterday can just Wholesale UK search your stock and find your supply. For example, let's say you stock some Colgate from an easily accessible supply found on Google. Someone who started Amazon yesterday can just do Colgate Wholesale UK and find your stock. Now what will happen is, if you source like that when it comes to wholesale, you will very quickly find that nothing's profitable from these easily accessible wholesalers on Google, or B, find that you are stocking these listings and they're not lasting you more than a month or two because everyone else is finding these listings on Google. So they're so easily accessible, which sets you up for failure. Now that causes so many people to think Amazon Wholesale is saturated because they're going on Google, they can't find any pricing that works from these wholesalers on Google. Well, I'm here to tell you, Amazon Wholesale is so unsaturated when you're doing it properly. Now, there are some things that I want you to think about. First of all, okay, do you think that the suppliers that supply, let's say Tesco and high street retailers, do you think they care about being on page 1 of Google? Well, the answer is no. So we've got to think, okay, there are suppliers out there that don't care about showing themselves on Google. They've been in the game for 20, 30 years. All their business is built upon in-person relationships, shaking hands. So we've got to think, okay, we know these suppliers that have been in the game for years and years are out there. How can we find them if they don't care about being on Google? That's what we've got to think about. So you've got to develop strategies to find these sorts of suppliers. Something else which you've got to keep in mind about these suppliers that have been in the game longer, they've got better relationships with their manufacturers, with their suppliers. So obviously these suppliers which are more difficult to find, which have been in the game for a long amount of time, will be able to pass you on better pricing because they've got better relationships with their suppliers. So that's the first point. We've got to think, okay, how can we find these suppliers that we know are out there, but just aren't screaming in our faces on Google? Now, the second point on why using Google is never going to work is because one of the most important things when it comes to wholesale is the relationships that you develop with your suppliers. It's virtually impossible to develop relationships with any of these wholesalers that you find on Google, because there's so many people talking to them, calling them every single day. They're so easily accessible. It's never going to work. So we've got to think, okay, how can we find these suppliers that we know are out there, that have been in the game for many, many years, and we can actually develop relationships with, that we're not going to get storefront stalked from as well, because all these suppliers you'll see on Google, you're very, very easily storefront stalkable. So like I said earlier, anyone can go across your storefront and just Wholesale UK search all your ASINs and they're going to find all your suppliers. Again, that does not set your business up for the long term. Now that feeds on to something I mentioned earlier. What makes a wholesale product a wholesale product? These are products which have longevity that can bring you consistent profits every single month. If you source in the conventional way that most wholesale sellers search, by doing wholesale searches on Google, for example, category Wholesale UK or brand Wholesale UK, you are setting yourself up for failure from the very start. You are not going to receive consistent profits from products or suppliers like that. So in order to achieve the longevity, we've got to think, okay, how can we find supplies no one else is going to find? First of all, what sort of strategies and methods and sourcing techniques can we utilize to find supplies, not only in the UK, but abroad as well, that are legitimate, that other people won't be able to find, that are in really lucrative positions within their supply chain, that don't care about being on Google, that don't care about screaming in everyone's faces on Google? How can we find these supplies? We know they're out there, they just don't care about being in everyone's face. They've been in the game for years. How can we find these sorts of suppliers? So a good supply and a good product, it'll be one that you can literally Wholesale UK search the ASIN and you're not going to find the supplier. You're not going to find the product on the supplier's website. Those are the sorts of suppliers that you want to be working with. For example, in my portfolio, you can take any product, Wholesale UK after it, our suppliers ain't going to come up because of how we've sourced them. Now I've got over 20 sourcing methods on how you can find unsaturated supplies that no one else will be able to find. Now these strategies allow me to find suppliers all around the world, in the UK, abroad, Poland, America, everywhere, suppliers which are connected directly to manufacturers, suppliers which are in very, very, very lucrative positions within the supply chain that we can obviously leverage. So please remember, these 20 or 30 wholesalers that you keep seeing in front of you on Google are not the only wholesalers in the UK, in the world. There are thousands of wholesalers in the UK for you to profit off. But you've just got to understand how to locate these, vet these, and utilize them to make profits for your Amazon business, consistent profits every single month, whereby you've got a portfolio of products from suppliers other people won't be able to find, even if they have access to your storefront. And you're able to replenish those products every single month because you've found suppliers which are difficult to find. You've developed the relationships with these suppliers because you can actually develop relationships with them. And you're churning consistent profits every single month because of how you source when it comes to wholesale. For example, one of the strategies that you can use to source is utilizing trade shows all around the world. Because obviously at trade shows, you are going to get legitimate companies. So how can we utilize these trade shows to find suppliers in the UK, abroad, that we can develop relationships and work with? That's one very simple method. Like I said, I have over 20 methods on how to find unsaturated suppliers all around the world. If you want any help with this, by the way, and if you want to learn these strategies that will literally leave you with an unlimited amount of suppliers, you can book a call in using the link down below and apply for the Wholesale Academy, which is a mentorship which I run. And in that program, we go through everything to do with wholesale, and you'll realize just how unsaturated it is and how much opportunity there is when you're doing wholesale correctly, when you're finding products that other people won't be able to find, when you're finding suppliers other people won't be able to find. There's so much opportunity there. It's so unsaturated. Back to trade shows, then it comes down to how can we identify and find trade shows which will be lucrative to us? How can we find those trade shows which other people don't know about? Trade shows which contain supplies which will be profitable for us over the long term. Not the generic trade shows that every single Amazon seller knows about, but how can we find these niche trade shows which contain niche suppliers which will really be profitable for us? And now, without going too much into it, I'm just going to give you a hint. There are plenty of websites out there which show you trade shows that you can attend, which you could check the exhibitor lists of online and find endless lists of suppliers. In my mentorship, I give you those websites directly, but if you're here, I'm just giving you a hint. You can find platforms that will literally show you trade shows all around the world. Then it's down to you to go through these trade shows, see which suppliers you want to work with, which suppliers are in good positions within the supply chain, which suppliers pass your vetting processes, which suppliers we can make profits with over the long term and develop relationships with. There's so much to wholesale, but the fundamentals are, do you actually know how to approach sourcing? It's not as easy as just going on Google and finding a supplier and running that way. No, you have to have specific methods and strategies to find suppliers which will set you up for the long term. Like I said, if you want any help with this, book a call in, use the link down below, and you will see just how unsaturated wholesale is. If you like the video, make sure you subscribe as well, because there's a lot more videos just like this coming your way.